This isn't just a stream, this is a live system. You don't watch it, you enter it for worlds, one stream. Training when it's time to push limits. Q&A when it's time to build knowledge. Music when the energy hits. And gaming when the community takes control. When the clock hits 10 a.m., we train. This is where discipline starts. No excuses, no filters, just work. You don't just watch the workout, you become part of it. Ask anything, get real answers. This is where confusion becomes clarity, nutrition, training, transformation, everything breaks down here. If you're stuck, this is where you get unstuck. This is the uncomfortable part where change actually happens. Cardio sessions build for transformation. Every drop of sweat is progress earned. When the light goal hits, we switch energy. This is where music takes over. Live-based sessions, community requests, real-time performance. You don't just watch, you decide what happens next. And when the grind is done, we switch worlds. Gaming, reaction, community chaos. This is where anything can happen. The community runs the direction. If engagement hits, the stream evolves. Training becomes harder, music gets louder. Gaming becomes unpredictable every weekday. From 10 a.m. to 2 p.m., this is where everything happens. This isn't content. This is a live ecosystem. And it's happening every weekday.
An entire empire collapsed. Almost overnight, not slowly, not gradually. Suddenly, around 1200 BC, the world was stable. Powerful kingdoms ruled vast lands. Trade connected civilizations. Armies controlled borders. Everything was structured. Then, everything fell apart. Cities burned. Kingdoms vanished. Empires collapsed. One of the most powerful civilizations of the time, the Mycenaean civilization, gone. The Hittite Empire, erased. Major cities across the Mediterranean, destroyed. Trade routes disappeared. Writing systems were lost. Entire regions fell into darkness. Historians call it the Bronze Age collapse. And here's what makes it terrifying. No one knows exactly why it happened. Some say invasion, a mysterious force known only as the Sea Peoples, unidentified, unstoppable. They attacked from the coast, destroyed cities, vanished again. But that's only part of the story, because even powerful empires didn't just fall to invasion. Others say climate change, drought, famine, societies weakening from within. Then came earthquakes, entire cities collapsing before any enemy arrived. And when systems started breaking, they didn't recover, because everything was connected. Aid failed. Food became scarce. Food became scarce. Civil unrest began. Unrest grew. Governments lost control. And once that happened, everything spiraled. Not over centuries, over decades. Entire civilizations gone. And what followed was a dark age. Knowledge lost, technology forgotten, human progress reset, all from one period of collapse. And even today, we still don't fully understand it, because it wasn't just one cause, it was everything, failing at the same time. We think powerful systems are stable until they're not. Collapse doesn't always come from one problem. It comes when multiple systems fail at once, and once that chain reaction starts, it's almost impossible to stop. They didn't fall because they were weak. They fell because everything broke at the same time.
They disappeared for over a decade. And when they came back, fans didn't know how to react, not because they failed, because they waited too long. At one point, Guns N' Roses was unstoppable, dominating charts, selling out stadiums, defining an entire era of rock. They weren't just successful, they were at the top. But behind the scenes, everything was falling apart. Numbers leaving, tension rising, control shifting. Until eventually, only one remained at the center. Axl Rose, and instead of rebuilding quickly, he made a different choice. He disappeared. Years went by. No album, no updates, no clear direction. Rumors started spreading. The band is finished. He's lost it. It's never coming out. But behind closed doors, something was happening. A project, obsessive, perfection-driven, every detail controlled. Every sound refined, not months, not years. Over a decade, millions spent. Endless revisions, the album became a myth. Chinese Democracy, the most delayed album in rock history. And when it finally released, everything changed. Not because it failed, because it wasn't what people expected. It didn't sound like the old band. It didn't feel the same. Fans were divided instantly. Some called it genius, others called it a mistake. But the real damage was already done, because during those 15 years, the world moved on. Music changed, audiences changed, expectations changed. And when you disappear for too long, you don't come back to the same place. Even if the product is good, the moment is gone. Timing matters more than perfection. Because the longer you wait, the harder it is to reconnect. Perfection can destroy momentum. You can spend years building something flawless and still lose because you waited too long to release it. They didn't fail because it wasn't good. They failed because the moment had already passed.
There's a city carved directly into solid rock, and no one knows why it was abandoned. Not destroyed, not invaded, just left behind, hidden within the desert cliffs of Jordan. There's a place that doesn't look real, a city not built, but carved. Welcome to Petra. From a distance, you see nothing, just rock, endless walls of sandstone. But then, a narrow passage opens, a canyon so tight, you can barely see the sky. And at the end of it, something appears, massive, precise, impossible. A structure carved directly into the cliff face, not built with blocks, not assembled piece by piece, carved. Columns, doorways, detailed facades, all cut into solid stone, and that's just the beginning. Because Petra wasn't just a structure, it was an entire city, hidden, protected, engineered. Thousands of people once lived here, with water systems, storage, trade routes, in the middle of the desert. And that's what makes it even stranger. Because this wasn't just survival, this was advanced planning. They built channels to capture rainwater, stored it, controlled it, turned one of the harshest environments on Earth into a functioning city. Traders passed through, wealth flowed in. Petra became powerful, important, strategic, and then it faded, not overnight, but slowly. Trade routes changed, other cities rose, and Petra was left behind. No major war, no catastrophic destruction, just abandonment. For centuries, it was forgotten, hidden from the world, until it was rediscovered. And even now, standing in front of it, the same questions remain. How did they carve something this precise, with the tools they had? How did they build an entire city inside rock? And why? Would something this advanced be left behind? Because cities don't just disappear, not ones like this, not without a reason. We assume ancient civilizations were limited, but places like Petra prove something else. They understood engineering, strategy, survival, at a level we're still trying to fully understand. Building something incredible doesn't guarantee it will last. Even the most advanced systems can be forgotten if they're not maintained or needed anymore. They carved a city into stone, and time still erased it. The tragedy that changed the band forever. Metallica story. One moment changed everything, and the band was never the same again. Not because of music, because of tragedy. Before the global fame, before the sold-out stadiums, before becoming one of the biggest bands in history, Metallica was still rising. Hungry, aggressive, relentless. They weren't just building a sound, they were building a legacy, and at the center of it all was a bassist who helped define their identity. Cliff Burton, not just a player, a musician, a thinker, a driving force behind their creativity. His influence shaped their sound, pushed boundaries, elevated the band beyond just heavy music. Everything was building, momentum was growing, They were on tour, traveling, moving fast. Then, everything stopped. A single moment. A bus accident. No warning. No time to react. And just like that, Cliff Burton was gone. The band didn't just lose a member, they lost a piece of their foundation. Shock turned into silence. Silence turned into questions. Could they continue? Should they continue? Because what they had built was built together. And now, that was gone. Fans felt it. The energy changed. The tone shifted. Everything after that moment carried something different, darker, heavier, not just in sound, but in emotion. The band moved forward. They had to, but the loss never disappeared, because some moments don't fade, they stay inside every decision. Inside. Every song, every performance, and even today, that moment is still part of their story. Success doesn't protect you from loss. No matter how big you become, some things can still break everything. You don't control what happens, but you control what you do after it, and sometimes moving forward isn't strength, it's survival. They didn't choose what happened, but it changed everything they became. They didn't just lose a band member, they removed the man who created the band. And without him, they became even bigger. Before the fame, before the iconic albums, and the global success, Pink Floyd was built around one person, Syd Barrett. He wasn't just a member, he was the vision, the sound, and the direction. Everything the band was came from him. Strange, experimental, and unpredictable. That was the identity, and it worked. They started gaining attention, momentum, and recognition. But behind the scenes, something was changing. Syd became unpredictable, not in a creative way, in a dangerous way. He would forget songs mid-performance, stand still on stage, disappear mentally while playing. Sometimes he wouldn't play at all. The band didn't know what to do, because without him there was no Pink Floyd. But with him they couldn't continue, so they made a decision. Not dramatic, not public. They just stopped picking him up. One day they were on the way to a show, and someone asked, "Are we going to get Syd?" The answer came back, "No." And that was it. No announcement, no confrontation. He was out. Just like that, the man who created the band was gone. And what happened next is what makes this story controversial. Instead of collapsing, they evolved. A new direction, a new sound, a new identity. Albums like The Dark Side of the Moon changed music forever. They became one of the biggest bands in history, without the person who built it. But they never escaped it. Syd Barrett wasn't forgotten. He became something else, a symbol. Songs were written about him. His presence lingered in everything they created, because deep down they knew something. They didn't just remove a member, they removed the foundation. Sometimes growth doesn't come from adding more. It comes from removing what no longer works. Not every beginning is meant to last. And sometimes the hardest decisions create the biggest outcomes, but they always come with a cost. They became legends without him, but they were never the same again. They had running water, thousands of years before modern civilization, and then they disappeared without a trace, long before modern cities, before skyscrapers, before electricity. There was a civilization doing something that shouldn't have been possible. Deep in what is now Pakistan and India, a vast network of cities existed, organized, engineered, precise. This wasn't primitive life. This was advanced urban design. Welcome to the Indus Valley civilization. At its peak, it stretched across thousands of kilometers. Massive cities like Mohenjo-Daro and Harappa stood as proof. This was one of the largest civilizations on Earth. But what made it different wasn't just its size, it was how it functioned. Every street, every building, every system was planned. Perfectly aligned grids, homes built with standardized bricks, public wells, and something even more shocking, drainage systems, not basic ones, advanced ones, underground channels, running beneath the streets, carrying waste away from homes, keeping the city clean, controlled, efficient. This wasn't something discovered by accident. It was designed, engineered with purpose, and no one knows exactly how. Because unlike other civilizations, they left almost nothing behind. No clear rulers, no massive monuments glorifying kings, No records we can fully understand. Their writing system, still undeciphered. It's like they existed, at a level of organization we didn't think was possible, then vanished. No massive war evidence, no clear destruction, no single explanation. Just silence. Cities abandoned, systems left behind, knowledge lost. Some believe climate shifts, others say trade collapsed. Some think migration, but no theory fully explains it, because a civilization this advanced shouldn't just disappear, especially not one this organized. It's like something disrupted the system from the inside, and once it started, everything unraveled. We think progress moves forward, but history doesn't always work like that. Sometimes civilizations rise to incredible levels, then vanish, taking their knowledge with them. Advancement doesn't guarantee survival. You can build something powerful, structured, efficient, and still lose everything, because strength isn't just what you build, it's how you adapt when things change. They mastered their world but couldn't survive what came next. They didn't just lose a band member, they removed the man who created the band. And without him, they became even bigger. Before the fame, before the iconic albums, and the global success, Pink Floyd was built around one person, Syd Barrett. He wasn't just a member, he was the vision, the sound, and the direction. Everything the band was came from him. Strange, experimental, and unpredictable. That was the identity, and it worked. They started gaining attention, momentum, and recognition. But behind the scenes, something was changing. Syd became unpredictable, not in a creative way, in a dangerous way. He would forget songs mid-performance, stand still on stage, disappear mentally while playing. Sometimes he wouldn't play at all. The band didn't know what to do, because without him there was no Pink Floyd. But with him they couldn't continue, so they made a decision. Not dramatic, not public. They just stopped picking him up. One day they were on the way to a show, and someone asked, "Are we going to get Syd?" The answer came back, "No." And that was it. No announcement, no confrontation. He was out. Just like that, the man who created the band was gone. And what happened next is what makes this story controversial. Instead of collapsing, they evolved. A new direction, a new sound, a new identity. Albums like The Dark Side of the Moon changed music forever. They became one of the biggest bands in history, without the person who built it, but they never escaped it. Syd Barrett wasn't forgotten. He became something else, a symbol. Songs were written about him. His presence lingered in everything they created, because deep down they knew something. They didn't just remove a member, they removed the foundation. Sometimes growth doesn't come from adding more. It comes from removing what no longer works. Not every beginning is meant to last. And sometimes the hardest decisions create the biggest outcomes, but they always come with a cost. They became legends without him, but they were never the same again.
The day DC replaced their voice, they didn't just replace a band member, they replaced a legend. And fans weren't just shocked, they were furious. For decades, DC wasn't just a band. It was a machine, loud, relentless, unstoppable. And at the center of it all, a voice that couldn't be mistaken. Brian Johnson, gritty, raw, explosive. He wasn't just a frontman, he was the sound. From Back in Black to sold-out stadiums across the world, he helped build one of the most powerful legacies in rock history. Then everything stopped in 2016, mid-tour, mid-momentum, mid-dominance. A sudden announcement dropped. Brian Johnson was out, not by choice. Doctors warned him, continue performing, and he could lose his hearing permanently. Just like that, the voice of DC was silenced. Fans expected one thing, the tour would end, but it didn't. Instead, the band made a decision that split the entire rock world in half. They brought in a replacement, not just anyone. Axl Rose, different band, different style, different energy, and instantly the backlash exploded. This isn't DC, they've ruined it. This is a cover. And now, fans who had followed them for decades turned overnight, because to them, It wasn't just about the music. It was about identity. AC, DC wasn't supposed to change. It was supposed to stay the same forever. But reality doesn't work like that. The shows went on. Crowds still filled stadiums. But something felt different. Not wrong, but not the same. And that's what made it controversial. Because the band didn't die. It evolved. And not everyone was ready for that. People don't just follow music. They attach to what it represents. The bigger your identity becomes, the harder it is to change it. Because the moment you evolve, you risk losing the people who built you. But staying the same can destroy you just as fast. They didn't betray their legacy. They chose to survive it.
The city that disappeared overnight. There are ruins scattered across the world that people visit every year. Broken walls, collapsed temples, fragments of something that used to matter. Most of them follow a pattern. War, invasion, natural disaster. Something happened. Something explains why they were abandoned. But every now and then, you come across a place that doesn't follow that pattern. A place where nothing adds up. No signs of destruction. No evidence of a final battle. No clear reason why people would leave. Just silence. And one of the strangest examples of that is the ancient city of Angkor. At its peak, this wasn't just a city. It was one of the largest urban centers on Earth. A place built with such precision and scale that even today, it raises questions we still don't fully understand. Massive stone temples, perfectly aligned. Structures, water systems engineered so precisely they could control floods, store water, and sustain millions of people. This wasn't primitive. This was advanced, highly organized, deliberate, and for centuries, it thrived. The Khmer Empire built something that wasn't just impressive. It was dominant, powerful enough to shape the region, advanced enough to outlast its rivals, and stable enough to support an enormous population, which makes what happened next harder to explain, because at some point, something changed. Not suddenly, not violently, but gradually, almost quietly. The systems that once worked perfectly started to fail. The same water networks that controlled the environment became unpredictable. Floods where there shouldn't be floods. Droughts where water used to flow. The balance started breaking. And when that happens in a city built on precision, everything feels it. Food supply becomes unstable, infrastructure weakens, pressure builds. But even that doesn't fully explain it, because cities have survived worse. History is filled with places that adapted, that rebuilt, that pushed through collapse. But here, that didn't happen. Instead of fighting to maintain it, people started leaving, slowly at first, then more noticeably. Entire sections of the city left behind. Temples once filled with activity became quiet. Structures that took decades to build were abandoned. And the strangest part, there's no clear evidence of panic, no mass graves, no signs of a desperate final stand. It doesn't look like a collapse. It looks like a withdrawal, like people made a decision to leave, to walk away from something massive, something powerful, something that had defined their entire world. And that raises a different kind of question. What makes a civilization walk away instead of fight to survive? Because this wasn't a small village. This wasn't a temporary settlement. This was an empire center, and yet, over time, it emptied. Nature started reclaiming it. Trees grew through stone, roots wrapped around walls. Structures that once represented power became part of the jungle, hidden, silent, almost erased. For centuries, it stayed that way, lost, until it was rediscovered. And when people found it again, it didn't look destroyed. It looked paused, like something had been left behind, not broken, just abandoned. And that's what makes it different, because most ruins tell a story of force. This one tells a story of decision. Something shifted enough that staying no longer made sense, and leaving became the better option. Not instantly, not dramatically, but inevitably. And that's where the real mystery sits. Because when you strip everything back, it forces you to think differently about collapse. We like to imagine civilizations fall in obvious ways. War, disaster, something visible, something clear. But what if that's not always how it happens? What if sometimes things don't collapse all at once? They erode, systems weaken, pressure builds, confidence fades, until one day, people just stop believing in it. They stop maintaining it. They stop holding it together. And once that happens, it doesn't matter how strong it used to be, because the structure isn't. What holds a civilization together, the people do. And when they start leaving, the outcome is already decided. That's what makes places like this unsettling, because it's not just history, it's a pattern. One that doesn't rely on destruction. One that doesn't need a single defining moment. Just a series of small shifts, small failures, small decisions that lead to something much bigger. And by the time it's obvious, it's already delayed to reverse. That's why this place matters. Not just because of what it was, but because of how it ended. No explosion, no final battle, no clear line where everything changed. Just a slow, quiet disappearance. And the only thing left behind are the structures, the scale, the evidence that something massive once existed. And the question that still doesn't have a clean answer: why did they leave? Was it the environment, the failing systems, internal pressure, a shift in power, or something more complex that we still don't fully understand? Because when something this big disappears without a clear ending, it leaves a gap, a space where explanation should be, but isn't. And maybe that's why it still draws attention, because it challenges the way we think about collapse. It shows that not everything ends with a moment. Some things end with a process, one that's easy to ignore while it's happening, but impossible to miss once it's done. And by then, all that's left is what couldn't leave. Stone structure, silence, a reminder that even the most powerful systems don't always fall apart. Sometimes they're simply left behind.
They were the biggest band in the world, and they destroyed themselves from the inside, not because of failure, because of control, before the chaos, before the headlines, before everything fell apart. Guns N' Roses was unstoppable, raw, dangerous, unpredictable. They weren't polished, they weren't safe, and that's exactly why they took over the world. Appetite for Destruction didn't just succeed, it dominated. Songs like Sweet Child of Mine and Welcome to the Jungle became anthems. And at the center of it all, a frontman who refused to be controlled. Axl Rose. Unpredictable, explosive, brilliant. But as the band grew bigger, so did the tension. Creative differences, clashing egos, different visions, and slowly, the cracks started to show. Shows were delayed, tours became unstable, band members started leaving, not all at once, but one by one, until eventually, the band that took over the world was no longer the same band. But here's where it gets controversial. Instead of rebuilding as a group, Axl took control, full control, legal control of the band name, creative control of the direction. And from that moment on, Guns N' Roses wasn't a band anymore. It became a project. Fans noticed immediately. This isn't the same. Where's the real band? This isn't what we signed up for. Because what people connected to was never just the music. It was the chemistry, the chaos, the balance of personalities. And once that was gone, something changed. Years passed, lineups changed, the sound evolved, but the debate never stopped. Was Axl protecting the band or controlling it? Was this evolution or destruction? Even when the original members eventually returned years later, the question still remained. Was it ever the same, or was the damage already done? Success doesn't just test your talent, it tests your ability to work with others. You can build something powerful as a team, but if one person controls everything, it stops being a team. And the moment that happens, you don't just lose people, you lose what made it work in the first place. They didn't fall because they weren't good enough. They fell because they couldn't stay together.
They built a movement and then destroyed it with one song. Not because it was bad, because it was too successful. Before the fame, before the money, before the world knew their name, Nirvana was just another underground band, raw, unfiltered, ignored by the mainstream. They weren't trying to be famous, they weren't trying to fit in, they didn't care about charts or radio, they just made noise. And that's exactly why people connected to them, because it felt real, because it felt honest, because it felt like something the industry couldn't control. Then everything changed. A single track dropped, loud, chaotic, different, but somehow perfect. Smells like teen spirit. It exploded, not slowly, not gradually, instantly. Radio stations couldn't stop playing it. MTV pushed it non-stop. Crowds grew overnight. And just like that, Nirvana wasn't underground anymore. They were the biggest band in the world. And that's when things started to break. Fans who once felt connected started turning. Sellouts. They've changed. They're not the same anymore. But the truth was, they hadn't changed. The world had. What started as rebellion became mainstream. What felt like escape became commercial. And the thing that made them powerful was now the thing destroying them. Even Kurt Cobain felt it. He hated the attention, hated the pressure. He hated what the music had become, because the same system they never trusted was now controlling everything around them. Crowds got bigger, but connection got weaker. The louder the world screamed their name, the more disconnected it felt. And that one song, the one that changed everything, became something deeper. Not just a hit, not just a moment, a turning point, the moment where success started to feel like a trap. Everyone wants to blow up until they realize what comes with it. Success doesn't just amplify your life, it amplifies your problems, your pressure, your expectations, your identity, and if you're not ready for it, it doesn't build you, it breaks you. They didn't lose control because they failed. They lost it because they became everything they never wanted to be.
There are structures on this planet that shouldn't exist, not because they're old, but because they're too precise to be ancient. And the strangest part, we still can't fully explain how they were built, deep in remote locations, far from modern cities, far from advanced machinery. Massive structures stand, perfectly aligned, perfectly measured, perfectly placed. These aren't rough constructions, they're not flawed, they're not primitive. They are engineered with a level of precision that even today would be difficult to replicate. Stone blocks, weighing tens of thousands of kilograms, cut so precisely that you can't fit a blade between them. No cement, no modern tools, no clear method, and yet they've stood for thousands of years. Think about that. Civilizations rose, collapsed, disappeared, and still these structures remain untouched. Not cracked, not broken, not degraded the way they should be. And that raises a question most people never ask. How do you build something that lasts longer than your entire civilization? Because that's what this is. These weren't just buildings, they weren't just monuments. They were built with intention, for something beyond the present moment. Look at the alignment. Some structures match the stars, perfectly, not approximately, not close enough. Exact, which means whoever built them understood positioning on a level that most people don't even think about. They weren't just building for function. They were building with awareness of time, space, and permanence. Because now the question isn't just, how did they build it? It becomes, what did they know that we don't? Because precision like that doesn't happen by accident. It requires planning, measurement, consistency, control, and most importantly, intent. Some theories say lost technology, forgotten knowledge, generations of skill passed down and refined. Others say we're underestimating ancient civilizations, that they were far more advanced than we give them credit for. But no matter what explanation you believe, one thing is undeniable. These structures weren't rushed. They weren't built for quick results. They weren't built for recognition. They were built to last. And that mindset is almost completely gone today. Everything now is fast, temporary, replaceable. But these structures were the opposite. They were designed with the understanding that time would test them. That's not just construction, that's strategy. Because if you build something that survives everything else, you control what remains. You control what gets remembered. You control what defines history. Think about it. The people who built these structures are mostly forgotten. Their names lost, their stories unclear, their lives erased by time. But their work, still here, still standing, still forcing people into question everything they thought they knew. And that's power. Not temporary power, not visible power, lasting power. Because real power isn't just about influence in the moment. It's about impact, long after you're gone. These builders understood something most people don't. You don't need to be seen and to be remembered. You don't need recognition to have impact. You don't need attention to create something powerful. You just need to build something. That can't be ignored, and that's exactly what they did. Even today, and with all our technology, all our knowledge, we still look at these structures and ask, how? And that question is what keeps them relevant. That question is what keeps them powerful. Because mystery holds attention, and attention is influence. So while everything else fades, these structures remain, not just as relics of the past, but as proof that something was done right, something was built for forever. Most people focus on speed, quick wins, immediate results, but the things that last are built slowly, carefully, with intention, because anything rushed breaks. Anything built for attention fades. Anything built without depth collapses. But something built with precision, with patience, with purpose, survives everything. If you want to build something that matters, stop thinking short-term. Stop chasing visibility. Stop chasing quick results. Start focusing on precision, structure, longevity. Because the strongest things in history weren't built fast. They were built to last. And that's why they still exist, while everything else disappeared. Anyone can build something quickly, but only a few build something that time can't destroy.
Welcome to the Sheep Power Live experience. This isn't just another stream you scroll past. It is a fully immersive, multidiscipline live system. You don't just watch it, you enter it. Every weekday, from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. Sydney time, we redefine what a community can be. For worlds collide here, one stream, total interaction. We have built this entire structure around you, the viewer, the athlete, and the gamer. We start with training. When it's time to push physical limits, we transition to Q&A sessions when it's time to build your knowledge base. Then comes the music when the energy hits its peak, followed by gaming when the community takes total control of the broadcast. This is 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. Sydney time, a schedule designed for those who want more from their daily digital interactions. When the clock hits 10, we hit the iron. This is where the discipline starts. There are no excuses and absolutely no filters, just pure work. You don't just watch the workout session, you become a vital part of the sweat and the grind. Can you feel the tension, the focus? We move together as one unit. Every lift, every rep, every moment is live and real. From the gym floor to the gaming chair, the intensity never drops. We are building something legendary every single day. Experience real-time interaction and real-time growth. This is the Sheep Power way of life. Join the movement and find your strength. Mark your calendars. 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. weekdays Sydney time. Train, talk, play, compete. We are waiting for you. Are you ready to step into the ecosystem? The stream is live, the community is ready, and the energy is unmatched. Sheep Power Live Experience. Join us and transform your routine. See you at 10 a.m. Let's get to work.